Right now, as you're lying there, drifting off to sleep, your body is about to do something you didn't ask for. It twitches, sharply, with your whole weight, like you just missed a step on a staircase that isn't there. Your foot missed a stair, your stomach dropped, and you jolt upright in the dark with your heart pounding. You weren't falling. You were lying perfectly still on your mattress, and yet a second ago, you were absolutely certain you were plummeting. Depending on the estimate, between 60 and 70% of people experience this. That means almost everyone reading these words. It has a name, a hypnic jerk, a sleep start, or scientifically, a hypnagogic myoclonus. And the most interesting part isn't that your body twitches, it's that your brain in that moment genuinely believes it's saving your life. There's a bigger question hiding here than it seems. When you fall asleep, your body is supposed to do one thing: relax and shut down. Muscles go limp, breathing slows, you drift away. And then, in the middle of that shutdown, your brain fires off an emergency signal throughout your entire body, like someone hit the red button. It burns energy to yank you back out of the sleep it was leading you into. Why would the system sabotage itself? To understand this, we need to go down to two warring parts of your brain that fight for control of the console every single night. We need to unpack a wiring error that makes you feel like you're falling when you're perfectly still. We need to look at the trees where your ancestors slept, because the answer might be hidden up there. And in the end, I'll show you how to tell a harmless twitch from a couple of other experiences on the edge of sleep that you should actually pay attention to. If you've ever caught yourself doing this jerk before sleep, hit that like button. It really does help the channel. Now let's move on to the weirdest part. Because the first thing that gets turned inside out here is cause and effect. You're sure that first you dream about falling, and then you twitch from fear. It's the other way around. And it's precisely this reversal that explains why your own brain fools you every single night. Let's break down the scene itself. You're almost asleep. Thoughts start to drift, feeling syrupy and illogical, faces and fragments of your day blurring into something incoherent. And right at that moment, your leg jerks like you've been electrocuted, your body jolts, and you snap back awake with the crystal clear feeling that you just tripped or plunged downward. Your brain immediately supplies an explanation. Oh right, I must have dreamed I was falling. Except it's lying. And it's lying retroactively. Research on the transition stage of sleep shows the opposite sequence. First comes the muscle jerk, the physical contraction, a discharge along the motor pathways. And only then, fractions of a second too late, does your brain notice that your body twitched on its own, without any command. To your brain, that's a logical hole. The body moved, but there was no order. And it does what it does best. It instantly cooks up a plausible story to patch that hole. If you jerked, you must have been falling. The feeling of falling is not the cause of the jerk. It's the excuse your brain slaps on after the fact. You don't jerk because you dreamed of falling. They construct a fall for you because you already jerked. Your brain acts like someone who trips on a flat sidewalk and then pretends they were just stretching their leg. It can't stand unexplained movements, so it fills the gap with the first explanation that comes along. Now here's an important detail about where this happens. This jerk doesn't just strike at random. There's a narrow window for it. Sleep works in stages, and the very first, most superficial one is called N1, that thin borderland between being awake and actually asleep. It has its own name, hypnagogia. It lasts just a few minutes. You're not fully asleep yet, but you're not awake anymore either. You're floating in that in-between zone. And it's exactly in that gap that the jerk slips through. It never happens in deep sleep, only right at the edge, on the way in, which explains the whole special effect that comes with it. A flash of light behind closed eyelids, that feeling of falling into nothingness. Sometimes a sharp, silent thud somewhere inside your head. Your body lies still on the mattress, the sheet cool against your shoulder blades, but your nervous system puts on a full-blown movie, falling, flashes, the works. And right after that familiar jolt, your heart pounding in your chest as if you just barely caught yourself on the edge of a cliff. That split second when you're lying there in the dark, wide awake like someone flipped a switch, that's the entry point into the really interesting part. Because the jerk isn't a glitch, it's the system doing its job. The system just happens to be wired in a way that sometimes it sounds a false alarm. And to figure out who's actually hitting that red button inside your head, you have to take a look behind the sleep control panel. And as it turns out, there aren't one, but two dispatchers sitting there. And they can't stand each other. Picture the control panel for falling asleep. Logically, there should be one calm dispatcher who smoothly dims the lights and guides you into sleep. Well, there are two dispatchers, and they're enemies. The first one handles wakefulness. That's the ascending activating system, tied to an ancient structure in the brainstem, the reticular formation. It keeps you conscious, alert, on your toes. It runs on a whole cocktail of stimulating chemicals: norepinephrine, serotonin, acetylcholine, histamine, and orexin. As long as it's in charge, you're awake, eyes open, muscles ready to go. The second dispatcher handles sleep. Its headquarters is the ventrolateral preoptic nucleus in the hypothalamus, a tiny area the size of a pinhead. Its job is to shut the first one down. It suppresses the wake system with the inhibitory neurotransmitter GABA, the same stuff that sleeping pills and alcohol act on. When it wins, the lights go out and you drift into sleep. Here's the key thing. These two can't work together. They're set up as mutual inhibition. Whichever is stronger at the moment completely shuts the other one down. Neuroscientist Clifford Saper described this setup with a perfect word: a flip-flop switch. It's a circuit of two loops that inhibit each other, just like a regular wall switch. Either the light is on or it's off. That switch hates being in between. It's designed to change states abruptly and completely, with no hovering in the middle. You're either awake or asleep. Click, and that's it. The logic behind it is ironclad. Being half asleep is a dangerous state. There's no evolutionary advantage to lounging in that fuzzy zone between sleep and waking, where your reactions are already sluggish but your consciousness hasn't turned off yet. Nature made the transition sharp on purpose. But any sharp switch has a weak spot: the moment of the click itself. Here's what's happening inside you at this very second. Your sleep system is pushing back against your wakefulness system. Your muscle tone is dropping, your body is going limp, you're almost out. And in that brief moment of instability, right before sleep fully takes over, your wakefulness system sometimes fires off a final salute. One last discharge, a sudden burst of commands racing down your motor pathways, shooting straight into your muscles. Your leg twitches, your body jolts. That's your hypnic jerk. The easiest way to picture it is like this. The night shift hasn't clocked in yet, the day shift is packing up, and for a few minutes, nobody's at the control panel. Right in that gap of responsibility, a false command slips through, one that no one is around to cancel. Or, to get closer to the wiring, think of a switch that's starting to fail. You press it down, but it gets stuck right in the middle, hovering between clicks. The bulb isn't off, but it's not fully on either. It flickers. It buzzes. Voltage jumping through the wires. That twitch in your leg is that flickering bulb. A voltage spike in a system stuck halfway between on and off. Now look at what this jolt is basically a carbon copy of. The startle reflex. The same one that makes you jump when a door slams behind you or someone drops a plate. The reticular formation in your brainstem is in charge of that reflex, specifically the pontine region. Sharp signal, immediate muscle contraction, instant readiness. It's the exact same emergency circuit. The only difference is where the signal comes from. With a normal startle, an outside sound spooks you. With a hypnic jerk, an internal glitch spooks you. The trigger isn't behind you, it's inside your own wiring. Your brain reacts to its own false signal the same way it would if something crashed nearby. And that's where we hit the big mystery. Okay, the mechanism makes sense. The switch flickers, the burst fires, your leg twitches. But out of all the possible sensations, why does your brain choose falling specifically? Not flying, not a hit, not a ringing sound, just that distinct feeling of dropping. Why is the emergency button in your head programmed for this exact scenario? The answer, it seems, is older than humanity itself. And to get to it, you'll have to climb off your bed and into a tree. Let's be straight with each other up front. What comes next isn't a proven fact, it's the leading hypothesis. There's no direct evidence, and nobody's rolled a time machine up to our ancestors. But this version explains the big weirdness of the hypnic jerk so neatly that it's hard to brush off. And it explains exactly what we got stuck on. Why, of all sensations, the brain picks falling. Wind way back. Way back. To ancestors who weren't even human yet, ancient primates. They didn't sleep on a mattress with cool sheets. They slept in trees, on a branch, in a fork, high above the ground, where creatures that wouldn't mind having you for dinner roamed at night.
The tree was both bedroom and fortress. As long as you stayed up there, you were relatively safe. But sleeping on a branch came with a deadly catch. To fall asleep, you have to relax your muscles. And relaxed muscles on a branch mean one thing: you start to slip. And that, according to this hypothesis, is where the jerk was born. Picture a mechanism hardwired into the system. The moment your brain detects a sudden loss of muscle tone as you're drifting off, it interprets it unambiguously. Body's gone limp, grips loosened, I'm falling. And it instantly sounds the alarm, a sharp contraction of every muscle at once. Jerking, tensing, clutching back at the branch. Don't let yourself slide off into the darkness from high up. The one whose reflex worked woke up on a branch and passed those genes on. The one whose didn't woke up on the ground, or didn't wake up at all. Now apply that to your bed. The mechanism is still there. It's wired into that ancient part of the brainstem, the reticular formation, older than your cortex, older than logic or common sense. It has no idea you climbed down from the tree ages ago and are now lying on an orthopedic mattress you paid good money for. It only knows one rule. If muscle tone drops sharply the moment you're falling asleep, you must be falling, so sound the alarm. And now it all clicks. Remember at the very beginning we caught the brain lying in retrospect, building the sensation of falling after the jerk? So why falling and not something else? Because it's not a random invention. It's the oldest association hardwired into the system. Loss of muscle tone is permanently linked to falling at a level that predates language. When the brain needs to explain a sudden jolt, it reaches for the oldest template in the archive. The one that, millions of years ago, kept your hide safe on a branch. You don't fall in your sleep. Your brainstem just still thinks you're sleeping in a tree. And every night, when you go limp on your pillow, that ancient watchman fires up somewhere deep inside. For a split second, it mistakes your soft mattress for a branch sleeping away from under you, and yanks you back so you won't crash. You grew up, got smarter, bought an apartment. But it's still watching over you, guarding you from a fall of a height that hasn't existed for ages. So there's your answer to the big question we started with. The brain isn't sabotaging your sleep for no reason. It's just doing its oldest job, protecting your life during the most vulnerable moment of the day. Only it's following a set of instructions millions of years old that make no sense in your bedroom. The panic button is tuned to a scenario that stopped being reality. Still, blaming it all on ancestors and trees would be way too convenient. Because how often these jerks happen, how frequent and intense they are, has nothing to do with ancient primates. It has to do with what you did tonight. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. You, with your own hands, tweak that mechanism every single day, usually in the wrong direction. That ancient watchman in the brainstem is hardware, pretty much the same in everyone. But the volume at which it yells? You said that. Every evening. And more often than not, you crank it up without even noticing. Let's go back to that shaky switch. The jerk happens during an unstable transition when two systems are fighting for the control panel. The logic is simple. The smoother and calmer the transition, the lower the chance of a false alarm. The more jittery and scattered it is, the more often the waking system fires its goodbye shots. And now look at what you're using to rattle that transition. First, the most obvious one, caffeine. That evening coffee you had to finish work, or tea, or cola, or an energy drink. Caffeine directly props up the waking system. It blocks the chemical that builds up during the day and tells your brain it's time to sleep. You try to fall asleep, but your waking dispatcher is pumped up and has no intention of leaving the control panel. The transition gets shaky. The jerk becomes more likely. Second, nicotine. That last cigarette or vape before bed that's supposed to be calming. Nicotine is a stimulant. It revs up your nervous system right when you're trying to shut it down. Another hand cranking up the Watchman's volume. Third, late-night workouts. You hit the gym late, gave it everything, came home buzzing on adrenaline, feeling proud of yourself.
Problem is, intense exercise right before bed leaves your nervous system running hot. Your body's in bed, but your engine's still revving. The transition into sleep is a bumpy ride. Fourth, and this one's the sneakiest, being sleep deprived. You'd think the logic would work the opposite way. The more tired you are, the smoother you'd fall asleep. But an exhausted, sleep-starved brain doesn't drift off gently. It lurches into sleep, dropping too fast through an unstable stage. And that sudden drop is exactly what makes a glitch more likely. The more you've punished yourself with sleepless nights, the rougher that entry into sleep is going to be. And fifth, the one that cranks everything to 11, stress and anxiety. When you lie down with a buzzing head, replaying unresolved conversations and tomorrow's deadlines, your alert system refuses to clock out. It keeps you on high alert because to the ancient primitive part of your brain, anxiety means danger, and you don't sleep when there's danger. The transition gets jagged again. The Watchman is back on edge. Now put it all together, and you've got the perfect recipe for a massive jerk.
A person who's been running on coffee all day, had a smoke in the evening, crushed it at a late gym session, got into bed with their phone and a head full of worries, and hasn't really slept in almost 2 days. Sound familiar? This isn't some unlucky guy's bad night. For a lot of people, this is just Tuesday. So here's the funny part. You blame it all on ancient ancestors and trees, but half the force of that jerk was something you set in motion yourself, just a few hours ago, in the kitchen and at the gym. Since we've gotten personal, remember your most intense jerk, the one that really ripped you out of sleep with your heart pounding. Now be honest, what happened that evening? Late coffee? A brutal day? A workout right before bed? Going into the second day without proper sleep? Drop a word in the comments, your main trigger: coffee, stress, workout, sleep deprivation. I'm curious to see the stats on what rattles that Watchman the most for everyone. Now, the reason a lot of you clicked this video in the first place, everything we've talked about so far is a harmless, totally benign thing. But the threshold of sleep has some neighbors, much less pleasant ones. And those, you need to know how to tell apart. Because a couple of sensations in this same borderland zone are no longer just a friendly watchman in a tree. They're a signal worth paying attention to. First, take a breath. The hypnic jerk, that thing we've been talking about this whole time, is harmless. It's not a disease, a malfunction, or a warning sign. It's a benign phenomenon, a normal brain doing normal brain things. You twitch before sleep, you dream about a missing step, your heart skips, and you fall back asleep. You're fine. But on that same borderland, in that same hypnagogic state, live some neighbors that people confuse with a jerk. And these you should know by sight. Neighbor number 1, sleep paralysis. People often lump it in with the twitching, but it's the polar opposite. Here's the thing. During REM sleep, when you have vivid dreams, your brain deliberately paralyzes your body. It shuts down your muscles, so you don't jump up and flail around acting out your dreams. It's a safety mechanism. Now, sleep paralysis is when that paralysis mechanism kicks in at the wrong time. Your consciousness is already on, you know you're awake, but your body is still off. You lie there and can't move a finger. Now feel the contrast. A hypnic jerk is an extra movement where there shouldn't be one. Sleep paralysis is the absence of movement when it should have already returned. One is a discharge, a burst, a kick. The other is dead silence in your muscles and the inability to even blink on purpose. The mechanisms are different, the poles are opposite. You can't confuse them. Sleep paralysis often comes with vivid, terrifying hallucinations, the feeling of someone else in the room, pressure on your chest, a shadow in the corner. By itself, it's usually not dangerous either, and it passes in seconds or minutes, but it feels a whole lot scarier than a jerk. If it happens often and wears you out, that's a good reason to talk to a doctor, especially to rule out sleep disorders like narcolepsy. Next up, with a scary name, exploding head syndrome. Sounds like a disaster, but it's actually harmless. This is when, right on the edge of sleep, you hear a sudden loud noise, like something exploded inside your head, a door slammed, a gunshot went off, a plate clattered. There's no sound. Nothing explodes. No pain. It's another glitch at the transition point, just not in the motor system, but in the auditory one. Same rattling switch, but instead of a leg twitching, your hearing flickers. It's unpleasant. It's scary, but basically it's still a benign thing. And now, the reason for this whole section. Where's the line between the harmless watchman and something that's worth seeing a neurologist about? A genuine hypnic jerk can be recognized by a few clear signs. It only happens as you're drifting off to sleep, right on that borderline, not during deep sleep and not in the middle of the day. It's a single event. One jerk, at most two, not a series. It doesn't come in bursts, and after it, you can easily fall back asleep. But here's what should make you pay attention and see a doctor. If the twitching comes in series, repeats in bursts, rhythmically. If it happens not on the edge of sleep, but during the day, when you're fully awake, out of nowhere. If it's accompanied by loss of consciousness, confusion, biting your tongue, or if afterward you don't remember what happened, that's no longer about the cozy watchman on a branch. That could look like, for example, myoclonic epilepsy and other neurological conditions, and those are exactly what you distinguish from a benign jerk based on these symptoms. That's why doctors once had such a hard time telling a harmless twitch from real seizures. It's not easy, and it's done precisely by this pattern. A single occurrence at sleep onset versus serial daytime episodes. Just remember the dividing line. One time, right on the edge of sleep, and then you fall back asleep. That's your ancient watchman doing his job. In bursts, during the day, with memory lapses, that's a different conversation. And it's not with the internet, it's with a neurologist. So in the vast majority of cases, jerking before sleep is good news disguised as a fright. Your brain is working properly, even too diligently. It's still keeping the night watch, guarding you against a danger that hasn't existed in your bedroom for ages. And now that we've broken it down from the surface to its most ancient roots, it's time to go back to where we started. Back to that step that isn't there. Let's go back to that same step. To the leg that missed a non-existent ledge, to the stomach that dropped, to the heart pounding in the dark while you're trying to figure out what just happened. We started with the feeling of falling. Now you know you never fell, not once. So let's put together everything we've uncovered. You don't jerk because you dreamed of falling. It's the other way around. Your body twitches first, and then your brain fills in the fall to patch the logical gap. That jolt doesn't come from a dream. It's the wake-up system firing one last goodbye when the rattling switch between sleep and wakefulness gets stuck right in the middle. And the fall isn't random. It's the oldest association we have, hardwired from a time when losing muscle tone on a branch meant you were slipping off into a hungry mouth or a sheer drop. That's the whole answer to the question we started with. Your brain isn't sabotaging your sleep, it's guarding it. Every night, as you go limp on your pillow, an ancient watchman stirs deep in your brainstem, a god that's millions of years old. For a split second, it mistakes your soft mattress for a branch slipping out from under you and yanks you back so you don't fall. It doesn't know you climbed down from that tree long ago, and honestly, it doesn't need to. Its job isn't to think. It's to keep you alive. It just does its job a little too well. So that twitch isn't a glitch inside you. It's the truest part of you. The part that hasn't changed in millions of years and still stands watch, even when there's nothing left to guard against. Next time you're drifting off and your body suddenly jerks, your heart skipping a beat, you won't be fumbling in the dark anymore. You'll remember. It's not you falling. It's the ancient watchman, for a second mistaking your bed for a branch over a ravine, pulling you back toward life. You can thank him in your head and drift back to sleep. He did his job. And if you're curious what other ancient programs are still running inside your body, on instructions millions of years old, why you get goosebumps or yawn, for instance, check out the next video. There's another old guard who forgot to clock out. Hit subscribe if you want to keep taking your body apart piece by piece. For now, good night, and may the branch beneath you hold steady.